Welcome to TaraElla Mag by TaraElla, where we look at trans and LGBT issues from the politically incorrect point of view of an old-school trans woman who would prefer it if the trans community were more like how it was back in 2007. I hope you subscribe if you are interested. This is primarily a response to the recent video by ContraPoints titled Beauty, or more specifically the last part of it. This is also a more general critique of social constructionist thinking, which I think has led to a large decline in the general social acceptance of trans people in the past 4 years or so. Firstly, I strongly take issue with Natalie's reasoning that, while personal desire cannot be changed, the social construction of beauty standards can be changed, and if that changed, then personal desires would also change. At its root, this is a form of the common argument underlying a lot of social theory used to justify social engineering. If we can change the fundamental culture of society in some ways, we can change how people think and act, and it will somehow bring about utopia. As someone with a strong biological sciences background, I can see this is often pure fantasy. Beauty standards are not a social construct, they are mostly genetically hardwired. In fact, you will find good evolutionary reasons behind why most men prefer women who look a certain way, or why most women prefer men who look a certain way. This truth is, of course, unfortunate for most of us who don't look like models, but this is still a truth we have to live with, and no social theory can explain it away. Besides, most people are wary of social engineering, and justifiably so. If you don't understand why this is the case, you should read more history, perhaps starting with Hitler's Germany and Stalin's USSR. Allowing social engineering so that all of us could feel pretty, and in the process allow the rise of new Hitlers or new Stalins, wouldn't pass the cost versus benefit calculation, even if it could be done. And I don't believe it can be done anyway. Secondly, the proliferation of social theory and so-called social justice action based on those theories are actually harming trans people. Back in the day when I transitioned, it was commonly understood that gender dysphoria, or gender identity disorder as it used to be called, is a rare medical condition, and those fortunate enough not to have it were often quite understanding of those of us who have to deal with it. There was no confusion that trans people were part of some plan to transform society. But around 2015 or 2016, everything changed for the worse. Natalie may not have noticed this change herself because she transitioned after 2016. But for me, I find it heartbreaking to accept that it was way easier to transition back in 2007 compared to today. With the constant characterization of trans people as having a radical agenda that will eventually make it compulsory for everyone to accept the abolition of both sex and gender, the level of transphobia in the mainstream has been on the increase for several years now. Transitioning was stressful enough without this crap being thrown at us. I seriously don't know how I would have coped with transitioning in today's climate. If today's LGBT youth is suffering like never before, I think the academics who produce social theory have to shoulder much of the blame, along with the radicals who recruit LGBT people to be pawns in the war against traditional society. Finally, I actually agree with Natalie about the use of personal style to overcome a lack of physical attractiveness. While physical attractiveness is an unfair fact of life, and I wouldn't trust any social engineering to change it, we can always develop our unique personal style and use this to distract from our physical flaws. This is also a good example of personal empowerment, in that we can change things to make life better for ourselves without needing to change the rest of society. When your plan for change doesn't affect other people, you are much less likely to receive backlash. The trans community understood this back in 2007. I really hope they can learn this lesson again today. That's all for today. I'll be back soon with another topic. I hope you subscribe if you are interested.